Fanthorpe, and I'm your host today. I'm looking forward to this session. We're going to be talking about Canva for branding with Victoria Smith from our Digital Boost team. So she's a program coordinator extraordinaire. So she's more than a program coordinator. She works with lots of our SMEs and gets out there and speaks to them about their businesses. She's out there at the Chamber of Commerce events and finding out all the info so that we're all up to date on what's happening for small businesses here in New Zealand. One of her specialties is kind of zeroing in on what a business is trying to do and why they're trying to do it. So I'm looking forward to this session. No pressure, Victoria.
No pressure.
We've been talking about branding a lot this week, so this is kind of a continuation of that. And I just want to remind all y'all who are tuning in on the different channels, make sure that you get your questions in there. Even if we can't answer the question today, we will endeavor to answer it for you and get that information to you after the session. So no question is too big or too small. Do pop them in the chat Q&A function or comment section. So I know you've got a lot of content, and we've already dropped some links into the chat for those of you tuning in on Zoom. I will spread those out across the other platforms. If you're tuning in from somewhere else, you don't need them right now, just letting you know that they are there. So Victoria, without further ado, should I let you kick off and I will go make sure everything's running in the back?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Anna-Marie. It's so wonderful to be here. I do appreciate getting some airtime, and I won't let her go too far because she's actually quite an expert herself in Canva. So I guess I'll take you through what we're going to do this morning. So we're going to have a look at using Canva for helping you with your brand design. And it is, as Anna-Marie said, off the back of two recent Q&A. So on Friday, we had the wonderful Benji from the Digital Boost team. He was talking about some of the different tools. He took you through probably making more of a sort of social media post in Canva. He also mentioned Design Space, which I will be talking about today. If you don't know what Design Space is, I'll be telling you all about it because it's basically New Zealand's version of Canva, and it's so exciting. And I will be encouraging you throughout that, even though today is about Canva, to get onto Design Space and really check it out. And there are so many iterations coming through, and there's big developments for that this year. So very excited, and really hoping that we're going to be able to connect with John, and he's going to be able to tell all of our wonderful Digital Boost users and followers all about the new developments with Design Space. But today we're focusing on Canva. And Benji highlighted it as a tool that you can use along with Design Space and VistaCreative, I think he talked about. Also yesterday, I know you definitely tuned in to see Charles talking about branding. It was a real deep dive into sort of what branding is and what it's not. It's not just your logo. And as Anna-Marie touched on, we work with small businesses here at Digital Boost to tell your story. We can do things like a brand refresh. You know, don't be frightened unless you've got heaps of product with your logo and brand on, to sort of refresh your brand if you think that something's changed about the journey or the story that you're telling as well. And so we're really, really fortunate that nowadays, we have these wonderful digital tools that we can tap into to help us with our branding and our journey, especially for those of us running small businesses. You know, financially, we might not want or need to be going out to a freelancer or outsourcing all of our branding. It might be something we want to work on ourselves. And Canva is definitely one of those tools that can really help us. I'm going to kick into the presentation. I'll just share my screen. And as Anna-Marie said, if any questions, if anything pops up during, pop your question in the chat or in the comments on socials, and we will go back to them. But today is about looking at what Canva can do for us. Some of the, not just using Canva for creative, but really using it Let's see, don't know if that's working. Oh, there we go. All right.
Yeah,
that was gonna happen.
Yeah, it looks perfect.
Okay, so your brand. So designing, I'm using digital tools like Canva, and as I said, Design Space. We're very fortunate that we have tools like this. Even if you're going to outsource your logo or maybe some social media posts, sometimes it's worth dropping into a tool like Canva and just having a play around with colors you like and fonts you like. And because if you send that onto the freelancer or the company that you're outsourcing to, sometimes it visually gives them more of an idea rather than just trying to have that discussion or completing a brand document. Don't be afraid to have a play in these things. So I think following on from anyone who watched Charles's presentation yesterday, he does love a good quote, and I do too. So design is the silent ambassador of your brand. So Charles really did touch on yesterday that your brand is so much more than your logo. It's about you, it's about your story, it's about how you want others to perceive you and your product or your service. So yeah, it's quite big and deep to go into, but don't worry. Something I did want to touch on is it can be a real barrier for moving forward for a lot of people thinking about their business name or their logo or brand design. If it's an obstacle, just choose something. You can always develop it and change it later on, and that's something we'll be looking at as well. So what is Canva? And how can Canva help you with your brand design? Canva is a wonderful online platform. Its free option is great. You can do so much. You can do yours, you can look at designing social media articles, email headers. You can do your business cards in here if you're still doing business cards and sending them away. Even if you're moving to like a digital business card, you can design it in here. You can add QR codes. The scope is endless for Canva, really. It can help you with just so many things. So we're going to have a look at a couple this morning. So what can you do in Canva? So you've got logo design. As I said, even if you're going to outsource your logo design, it's sometimes a good idea just to hop into Canva, or there are lots of other logo free design creators as well, and have a play. You can also think about logos that you like, brands that you identify with, and why you identify with that particular logo. So it's always worth sort of looking through Canva and other platforms to get some ideas, and then from those form them together to create something that represents you and your brand. Oh, sorry. Choosing a font, I think Charles touched on this quite a bit yesterday as well. Thinking about the font that you're using, I think we generally choose about 3 that you're going to carry across all of your branding. So your website, your social media posts, any advertising you do, any products that you make, keep consistency. Consistency means brand recognition as you move forward in your journey. So it's really, really important that people start to recognize and get really comfortable. And then that builds sort of comfort and trust as well. Your color palette. I'm using something a little bit different today. So I'm going out on a limb. We at Digital Boost, we stick to the blue. And if you'd seen, I think Charles yesterday talking about, blue is, it's that trust, that comfort. Lots of government agencies use it. It's just a very sort of passive and comfortable color. So there's a lot to choosing your colors. But just remember, just because you start with one color palette that you choose from, you keep consistent across your website, and as I said, everything else. Don't forget that times change, your message might change. So you can do a brand or a color refresh. So don't be afraid to do that, and especially at the beginning of the new year. Maybe this is something you really want to do. Maybe it's something that's been playing on your mind as you see your social media posts and you think it's just maybe a bit tired or a bit old or, a bit old fashioned. Don't feel you have to stick to something. You can refresh your brand without losing any followers. Style your imagery. So that's a really good thing that you can do in Canva. So Charles also would have touched on Imagery yesterday and sort of different places you can access photos from, or you can use your own imagery. But it's always good to have, again, some consistency, something that connects everything that you're doing and the images you're using. And then the final thing we might touch on is building a brand kit. So what is a brand kit? Why would you need one? It's quite interesting. And it's not just for big business. You can do it. Sometimes it helps you a little bit like a lean canvas, bring all of your social media and all of your where your brand is, bringing it back together and just making sure that everything's consistent. And by building a brand kit, like a solid PDF that has an example of each thing, you can make sure that there's consistency there, and it might highlight something that's not quite fitting and you want to change it. Okay, so we will look at logos. So logo variations, I picked out this slide. It's actually from Canva as well. So just so that you can see with your logo, when you design your logo, you want to have a couple of variations as well. This is quite common that you have your icon. So you've got like the upside down V's or the triangles, and then the business name underneath. You might want to switch that around so that alternatively you can use it in a horizontal way, so it's more side by side. And then sometimes you might feel that all you need is the icon. So when you're designing your logo, think about the different variations. And this is something you can do really easily in Canva. And we'll have a look at that in a little bit. Some other things to consider. Again, Charles touched on, fonts and using your fonts and, going by the rule of three, choose three that, go together in some way, but are a little bit contrasting perhaps, so that you can use them again across different platforms. So your font choice is important. And then the colors, obviously, you want them to fit into your palette and your branding. Font spacing is important as well. And then your size. Now, the wonderful thing about Canva is it pretty much does all of this for you. And we're going to have a look at that too. So something else mentioned yesterday is definitely the color palette. So creating your palette. So this is your brand colors. So this is when you choose the colors that you're going to use across your website, your social media, your advertising, if you have products or packaging, if you have services, and how you're going to have that sort of group of colors that complement each other. But as you can see from the one on the screen now, they're actually quite contrasting, and that's quite interesting. That keeps people engaged and interested. Imagery, as I said, it's important that this is consistent as well across your brand, and so you'll know your brand, and you'll also wherever you are in your journey, you'll start to know like what people respond to. I remember working with someone when I first started at Digital Boost last June, who said, she has all of this wonderful imagery, but every time she puts a post up and it has a picture of like a lamb or a sheep, she was from a wool farm, she was like, it just gets so much. And we're like, well, just use it more. It's obviously what your followers engage with. So think about the imagery. So all of these things, Canva can help you. But as I mentioned earlier, don't forget Design Space. Now, Design Space is the New Zealand Canva. And the wonderful thing about it is it's created and developed in Christchurch, so right here. And the contributors for the imagery and the freelancers that you can get in touch with through the Design Space itself, they're New Zealand based as well. So it really is a way of keeping it local. But for some things, you might want to do your learning or the big scope things on Canva. But please try Design Space. It's an amazing tool and definitely worth a look. Other things you can do on Canva, so there are mood boards. So if you are early stages of, planning what your brand is and thinking about that, you may want to pull some examples of images you like, colors you like, and put them all into a mood board. Now, you can do this very easily. Back in the day, we would just cut bits out of magazines and put them on an actual board up on a wall. So it could sit with you for a while. It's almost like painting a little sample on your wall before you choose which color you're going to paint the whole wall. But obviously, you can actually do this online through a digital tool like Canva now. Social media templates and artwork. Canva makes this so easy for you to do, and this was highlighted. So if you want to have a look at one of those in action, have a look for Benji's Q&A from last week, last Friday. It was great, and he actually took you through building, I think it was an Instagram post. Email headers. Such a huge thing for small businesses that to build your customer base, you gather subscribers to your email, but you want to make your email interesting. So headers are really important. Adding your brand to the header, just using your own imagery if you can, or finding really good stock images that relate to your brand and that represent you well. Also infographics. If you've got a newsletter, sometimes it's good to switch it up, just not always articles or videos, really just thinking about incorporating some infographics, giving that bite-sized information that's really relevant in a very visual way. There's business cards. Business cards still have great value, and you want to make sure that even your business card represents you and carries through your brand and your coloring, and so much more. So before we jump into Canva itself and have a look around, because there's quite a few things I wanted to show you, I will just say that, as Anna-Marie mentioned, Digital Boost team are here to offer help, to take you through some options, to walk through, building your mood board, or, giving you some feedback. If you've started, you've got a brand, or you've chosen some colors and you're not really sure, just reach out to us. We'd love to have a look and give you our feedback. So definitely ask the team. We will come back to questions. So I'll just check in with Anna-Marie to see if there's any questions before I jump into Canva, and we do that way.
Hi. Actually, there's no questions so far, so I think we're good to go. I'll just double check on the other channels, but I've been kind of monitoring it. We're good, and I also have popped all the links in on all the other channels. So depending on what you're on, you should be able to have access to those.
Perfect. Okay. So so what I wanted to talk about next really is, Canva is, it holds so much more than just you being able to make the creative posts and, business cards and designs. It actually holds a whole lot of blogs so that you can do some fact finding and research for yourself. The biggest one that I go to, and I refer to this all the time, is about color psychology. So Charles touched on this yesterday, but if you did want to hop in and have a look, I was just going to show you in. Okay, so I'm guessing you can see this.
It looks good.
Yeah.
Oh, now it doesn't.
Okay.
Now I can see your calendar.
There we go. Color psychology.
Yeah, color psychology.
Perfect. So the color psychology, so this is within Learn. So I'm sure most people have had a look at Canva, and if you haven't, and you're watching this Q&A, hopefully you've Googled it and opened it. So it's really about, it hosts the design function, heaps of templates. So you really don't have to do much for yourself. The templates fully guide you and are fantastic. But it has other features. But one of the most important parts for me, and that I go back to, is the Learn. So through Learn, it has articles like this one. So it takes you through the color psychology. So not just the logo, but the colors and the wording and the fonts. So they have this in-depth, wonderful, just blogs and all sorts about that can really help you with your own learning. So we can see here that they've grouped together by color all these really strong sort of power brands that we would see every day. It sort of reminds me, I don't know if anyone else remembers, it was like a logo game where you only got like the logo and you had to match it with the brand. So it's really good looking at what colors people use and trying to work out where you might fit, and if there's some sort of alignment in those grouped in blue, and who's using purple, who's using like power red, who's using orange, that sort of fun in the middle, and then that yellow, which is sort of as Charles talked about yesterday, we really recognize yellow at the minute from the Unite, the COVID response. So for us it's like pay attention. So maybe that's somewhere you want to fit into. Or green, green's that sort of also a bit like blue. It's calming, it's fresh. So it's really good to explore this, to think about your own brand before launching into design. Sometimes we just have to take a step back. If we're thinking about making a new brand, or if we've already got a brand, we're not sure if it's working. Sometimes it's good to take a step back, speak to an expert. Like I said, Digital Boost is here. We always happily have a chat and sort of point you in the right direction. But there's so much here for you to use. So it's very similar to our very own wonderful Digital Boost platform. It's just it's full of information. Digital Boost platform has short videos that are nearly 200 how-to videos, that are 3 to 5 minutes long, and they're your guide to learn about something and then action it and carry it through. So very much like what Digital Boost provides you as a sort of taking your small business digital, Canva does exactly the same thing in training you and guiding you and providing you with information and facts about branding and design. So I absolutely love this circle of logos and brands. You can then even have a look at, so you can then even have a look at logos and colors by industry, which is really quite interesting. But as you'll see, there's a couple of them that are don't have many colors within, but for a lot of industries, that it's quite varied. But it's again something interesting. This is all information. It's like you research setting up your business, you research who your customer would be, you research financing. This is just as important. The design side is, it represents your business and who you are and the journey that you're on and the journey that you want to take your customers on. And again, it takes you through all the colors. So this is quite good. And then color psychology. So I quite like the psychology behind it. But as I said, if you wanted more information on that, check out Charles's Q&A session from yesterday. And then there's always going to be trends. So this is sort of the common color associations. So this is, sometimes when we're in this field of work, we actually forget what other people don't know, because you don't know what you don't know. So, looking at charts and facts like this might just quickly answer that question you've had looming in your brain about, I've got a fitness company, and I'm using green. Is that the right one? And then maybe you can have a look at some industries and associations. So I really would I really would suggest that you go into Canva and not just go straight to designs, as we all sort of tend to do. So generally, you come to Canva, you go either straight to your home, and then you're going to have a look at what you have and your recent designs. But it's more than just creating videos and posters and Instagram posts, logos. That's all there, of course, but there's so much more. And just by digging into, you've probably been to templates and check out features. I actually really loved icons. If you go to Discover Icons, there's so much here. And, this helps you just when you're making maybe your infographics, or perhaps you're doing a pitch or you need a presentation. The one I like a lot is the social media icons. If you are adding these to newsletters, you can go here and get your icons. A lot of them are paid. And that's the other thing I was going to touch on about Canva. Now, Canva is free. I've never paid for it. So you do need to think about what you're going to use and whether it's worth the investment. Now, you can get the paid, the pro version of Canva. It's about $170 for a year. And that means 5 people in your team can collaborate on it as well. So that's going to be one of those sort of business decisions you think about, when you're thinking about, okay, can I do this myself, DIY? Can I do this, but I need to invest some of my time to learn about how to do it? Am I just going to outsource this? Or is there someone within my team or my family that can help me do this? And if that's the case, if you are going to keep it in-house, perhaps think about getting a pro version of this or Design Space. But if you are going to start to spend money, then have a look around, have a shop around. Canva is extremely popular. It's well developed. It's been around a while. It's got great resources. But perhaps it's at that time when you decide if it's worth the time commitment to learn for you or someone on your team, or if you're going to actually pay for the premium so that you can use all of these wonderful options and features. So within features, it's great with apps. Something super popular at the minute. Nobody likes COVID, but it has reinvigorated the wonderful QR code. I'm always a big fan of QR codes, but it's brought it back. And the technology now, back in the day, you had to have on your smartphone, you would have to have a QR code reader app. Now you don't. You just take a picture on your camera, and young and old know if you see a QR code, you just take a picture of it. So it's becoming really important to bring QR codes back, especially if you're selling at markets, or you're out at Expos selling your services or your processes. A QR code is a really easy way that you can present it quite nicely. Create something beautiful in Canva, add a QR code, put it on the table that you're at, the market table, or at the expo that you're at. And people, if you're busy chatting to someone else, you want to make it really easy for people to still engage with you. So if they're savvy, they'll see that you might have Facebook or Instagram, and they'll do that. But otherwise, they might, if it's a QR code, and I know Anna-Marie can talk to this because she recommends it to people all the time.
All the time. Mm.
Yeah, just take that snap of that QR code, and it takes you straight to the website, or the URL that you want them to go to. And it's so it's actually quite powerful.
I wanted to mention, Victoria, because there was a request actually I think it was at the Coffee and Questions that we had last week. Just a little brief plug. We're going to have one tomorrow or Thursday at 10 a.m. And you need to register that on the website, digitalboost.business.govt.nz, in order to get the link, because it's not a webinar, it's a meeting. You'll be able to meet the team and ask any questions you have. Last week, we had the question on how to gather leads at expos, at at live events in order to continue to build your database. And I have changed the content, or I've kind of updated it with Glenn from Spike, who we all know and love. He's going to be doing a session next Tuesday. So that is, I think, the 1st of February, I think that is. So next Tuesday, that event is going to be about gathering leads. We're going to probably talk about things like QR codes and how you can use that to shoot over to your website to get registrations that way. So if you're looking, if you're a person who sells at live events and you want to grow your database, tune into that session. I just wanted to do a little plug there because I know it was a request from one of our users. So
yeah, and
we're
that's
delivering. You let us know what you need, we will get it.
Yeah, and that's so important. And I'm sure Anna-Marie is going to do a wonderful plug at the end about joining our wonderful Facebook community group as well. But yeah, on what I find is helpful, QR codes have made a huge comeback. And then I think over Christmas, obviously, and summer holidays, we're at lots of markets. And a wonderful thing I saw, which made something look really beautiful and pristine, was, probably created on Canva or Design Space or something similar, a nice little ad, a QR code, and they put it in just a beautiful photo frame and then just placed it on the front of their table. And it was so helpful that you could just click it, but that framing just made it a little bit different than, just the bit of sellotape or blue tack up on a fence or something. So think about how you're presenting, especially if you're taking the time to go into Canva and spend your valuable time designing. Have a real good think about have a good think about how you present it. Don't just print it out and then but obviously social media is a little different. So I'll jump back into the features. So features, absolutely fantastic. Now learn is where I wanted to go. So Digital Boost, if you're registered for Digital Boost, if you're on that Digital Boost journey, it's all about watching, learning, implementing. Canva does this really well too. So if you are a bit of a DIYer, the learn option on Canva is fantastic. And there's quite a few reasons. So they break it down into sections. So there are courses. So you can go through Canva 101. Obviously, that's going to start you right at the beginning, which might be a fantastic place to start. You might want to look at personal branding, depending on what you're doing or what your product and service is. Social media, all the basics there. And then the tutorials are really great. So the tutorials start with everything from getting started, creating videos, all the way through. Even there's really good information about Canva Pro. So if you're in that situation where you're thinking, I'm at that stage where I want to always be using my color palette, my brand color palette, my own logo, my own designs. And if you find that every time you look for a template and you click on it, it's one of the paid options, then perhaps it is time to consider Canva Pro or Design Space Pro. But do your research. So I thought we might just hop into one or two of these. So let's learn. Okay, so for example, this one, we talked about your font. So if you're not really sure what Charles or I have been talking about when we're saying, your typeface or your font, choose 3 options, think about whether you're Arial or Sans. And there's some videos for you to watch here. So you can watch a video. There are more tutorials. But what I really love is the try it yourself. So you can jump in and let's go. So one of the other things we touched on was consistent branding. So, choosing those colors and having them play out across all your digital, so your website, social media, but into any printed assets that you have as well. And Canva will take you through step by step how to do this. So you've got our consistent branding. So let's start. So the first thing we're going to do is add a title to the page. So it's telling us that on this side, this is done. And then here we're gonna, you can do it yourself. So just tells you, you know, what's my title page. I'm gonna have and then, you know, we can look at what different, you know, would we want to change the font here? Are we happy with this? Do we want, lots of people focus on whether you're going to go all caps or, you know, you're going to have capital letters for every major word, or, you know, there's lots to be done. But these are so, like, really cool, and just adding, so you learn how to do something and then you do it. And that's what Digital Boost is all about. So if you're on our platform, you watch a video, you learn about it, and then you do it. So Canva does exactly the same. And as you go through, it gets a little bit more just involved, and then you just follow these tutorials. So these tutorials are absolutely fantastic, and I can't recommend them enough, actually. One of the other things that I need to recommend, obviously, is Digital Boost. So on Digital Boost, you'll be able to find lots of information about branding, about also about using Canva. We've got other Q&As that were filmed at the beginning of last year from the marketing team at Tech Futures Lab. And they did a great job of taking you through, and I think it's a series of 3 sort of workshops. So check that out. And on the Digital Boost platform, remember now we have the search option. So you go online, I could probably take you online. You go online, go to Digital Boost. You can find, I'm going to stop sharing. You can go to Digital Boost and you can just type in Canva, if it's Canva particularly that you want to have a look at. Type in branding. There's a wonderful video that actually sits within the websites category that's called The Basics of Branding, which is about 5 minutes long, and it will give you so much valuable information. And then, yeah, do use the search function. It will really help. But as I said, there was a great Q&A session last Friday with Benji Cornish. There was a wonderful deep dive into branding yesterday. And yeah, and then today we've had a quick look at the other side of Canva, and sort of it's not just there for templates. There's so much learning to be done and so many other options for you to look at. So I will just see if there's any questions.
Oh.
No.
I'll just have a look, double check on the Facebook, but I think we're good. Actually, this was very self-explanatory. So
Yeah.
I think that you've given us some good calls to action.
Yeah, I know you're a big user of Canva, Anna-Marie.
I am. I try to dabble. I also use something called, well, it used to be called Adobe Spark, but now it's called, they've just put it Creative Cloud as the app. So when I'm on, I actually find that when I'm on my phone, because of the size of my phone, I like to use the Adobe Creative Cloud. It's Adobe Spark, but they've just kind of changed it to Creative Cloud. And then when I'm on my laptop, I like to use either Design Space or Canva, depending on what I'm doing. I've got some things loaded onto Canva that I just thought, you know what, they're already here. And that's easier for me to just stick with that. I have past things that I've designed that are all saved in there, and I can go in and just tweak them here and there. What I like is that I put all my color codes in there, and you can do that part for free. So once you start adding your logo or more than 3 colors, then you kind of need to pay for the pro version, but I don't need all of that. So yeah, I do use Canva quite a bit. I use it for LinkedIn so that my branding, whenever I do like a personal post, is the same. I use it on my social media. I haven't used it for presentations, but I have to say that I've seen a number of folks use it for presentations here on Digital Boost, and they always look super crisp and clean. It's very cool. And the tools that you can use to highlight and do things while you're presenting are quite modern, I guess, compared to using PowerPoint or slides. Really gives you the ability to drive as if you have one of those, the old school kind of markers, or you've got a smart board, you know, right there online. whereas you don't really have those features on some of the other tools. So yeah, I do really like it. I like playing around. And what I like about lots of the sites that do allow you to do this work is that you can create one and then duplicate it, tweak it a little bit, create another one, tweak it a little bit, and then reevaluate that. And I was talking about that, I think either with Benji or Charles the other day. I think that it's really important to not just make one if you're creating designs, because although it might look really good in the moment, as soon as you create another one, you start to critique the first one. And I think that design is something that the creative process evolves and kind of becomes more fluid the longer you're spending kind of in there. So if you just do 5 minutes and you're trying to create a whole new look, you probably will get better 20 minutes in than you were the first 5 minutes. At least when I went to graphic design school, that's what we did. We would just free draw for 20 minutes, and then we would get in and do some other work that was more pertinent to what we were doing that day, because we wanted to get our mind into that creative space.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, definitely. I must admit, Canva and the other online options are Design Space as well. They're good because everything saves. And so if you do go away and then you come back a little bit later on, because if you're not a creative or that's not your main role, it is something that you're maybe going to start to do in the morning, and then you have to go and do your real job and put your other hat on and then come back to it later. So it's great that it all just exists and stays there in the wonderful cloud. But also, yeah, I completely agree. Sometimes you'll make something, and then by the time you've had a bit of a sleep or you've gone away and like walk the dog or whatever it is that you have to do, your mind is still working on that wasn't the right color, or that wasn't, it could be a copy thing, it wasn't the right wording, I didn't get the tone of voice right for my customer. But yeah, you can come back to it and tweak it. And that's the most important thing, not having to start all over again. But yeah, this is the first time I've used a presentation in Canva. So I was very, very pleasantly surprised. But yeah, I would definitely use some of the templates and things again. But like you said, there are so many other options on Canva. But yeah, I would really suggest that anyone on this type of journey plays with it. It is one of those really intuitive, and it will just guide you, and everything pops up when it needs to. It all stays there. It's free up to an exceptional limit until you have to buy. I do think, and I don't advocate buying or signing up for many paid subscriptions, because I think you can get the free one. But if you do have a team and you're going to do real serious in-house design, think about paying that, because $180 across a year for all of your team to collaborate, be able to put all the colors that you possibly might want and your logo and everything in there, it might be worth it. But again, that comes back to, these are all decisions that our small business owners have to make.
Yeah, totally. And just as I guess I just want to reiterate too, I really find Canva good on desktop, but the app, it's too small for me. So if you haven't tried it if you've only tried it on your phone and you found it didn't work for you, maybe try it on your desktop, because some things just aren't as mobile friendly, and so just have a play around with some things. And we'd love to see work that you're doing. If you decide that you're going to go ahead and use some of this advice that you've heard this week from all of our fabulous staff, and we'd love to see the changes that you've made, shoot us an email at support@digitalboost.co.nz. We'd love to see what you're doing. You could always share it on the community page. Would that be something that you could share there? Be like, hey, I did a rebrand. This was my old logo. This is my new logo. I would even say that on that community page, it's a great opportunity for you to do some A/B testing, possibly.
Absolutely.
And just put up two things that you've made that you're not sure of. Pop it on the community page and say, hey, which one do you like, A or B, and why? And just see what some folks out there who are small business owners, like you, see what their opinions are, get some feedback. That's why we're here, to help and assist you. And that's why, we're a bit of a family, we're a funnel, as we like to say here at Digital Boost, and we're here to support each other. So take advantage of that community page, because it's a great opportunity to not only promote your stuff on a Friday, like if you've got sales, but to spitball, or have a little bit of a brainstorm. Maybe you connect with somebody who is in the same industry as you, or a like-minded industry, and you decide to do some work together. I don't know, that's up to you, but there's lots of opportunities here to grow with support. So do take advantage.
Yeah, I definitely, if you have changed your brand, changed some colors. There was a TikTok Q&A last week. If you have made a TikTok and you are brave enough to send it in, ask us to have a look at it, or you want us to put it on the community page, absolutely. And you would not be the first person who has, a Digital Boost user who has sent me 3 images and said, which one shall I use on Facebook today? So we're here. We're here for you. That's what we do. And it's a passion. So yeah, feel free.
Yeah, we've got some really passionate people on our team. We're really fortunate to work with such a lovely bunch of people who actually really care about you. We care about your business. So yeah, stay tuned. Tomorrow, what are we doing tomorrow, Vic? Do you know? I'm not sure. Got to have a look and to have a note to know.
Thursday is coffee and questions. So definitely come along to that.
Well, Wednesday is the importance of images. So we're going to be talking about imagery for your business, and how it affects the way that your customers see you as a brand, as a recognizable brand, as what you're actually marketing. Because sometimes people you go to their website, you have no idea what they're actually selling. You're like, what is this? Is totally irrelevant to what you're doing. So check that out and learn some new tips and tricks from our team at Digital Boost. This is the last week that the Digital Boost team is doing these sessions. And then we're moving back to the providers and suppliers coming on. We're kicking off with a Microsoft session on OneDrive next week on the Monday. And then Tuesday, Glenn is doing a session on how to gain leads from live events using digital tools. So I will see you soon, Victoria, and I hope to see y'all tomorrow. Have a wonderful day. Ka kite from us here at Digital Boost.